Hello, everybody. Welcome to the North Cascades Bluegrass interview with the pros. Today, we are going to be interviewing Silvio Ferretti and Martino Cappa from, is it Cappa or Capo?
Capo
Capo
with double O.
with double O. With red wine. Before we get started, just want to give everybody a little heads up. This year, our festival is September 2nd through the 3rd at the Deming Log Show in Bellingham, Washington. And we also have camping from Tuesday before Labor Day, which is the 29th, coming up here in a few days, until Tuesday after the festival. So it's a full 7 days of camping. If you haven't had a chance, go out and visit our website at ncbf.fun, and you can sign up to buy tickets, or if you're interested in volunteering, we have some volunteer positions open. So we hope to see you all there. But without further ado, let's get started with our interview with the pros. So Silvio and Martino, let's start off by having you sharing a little bit about how Red Wine became the legendary Red Wine Band.
Should I start?
Oh, really?
First of all, are we legendary?
Just for the record, Italy time is 7 p.m. right now. So,
like someone said, I'm not even famous in my own house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, I don't know if we're legendary or not. What I know is that the band has been going on since 1978. That was the year that Beppe Gambetta, the guitar player, and I decided to put a band together, and added a bass player and another guitar player, and started trying to imitate what we were hearing on the Precious Few records that we had at the time. And then Martino came in 1981, so a mere 3 years later, and he changed the whole thing, because before then we were only known, not even famous, in our neighborhood. And we were playing sort of folkish stuff, old-timeish stuff, Irish. A lot of confusion in our musical choices. And Martino straightened it out with an iron fist. I'm sorry, Martino. Just came to my mind. With his famous iron fist. And he decided that we would have to play bluegrass and bluegrass only. And he was right. So we got serious about that. And in a few years, we were touring Europe. The first big gig outside of Italy was 3 years after Martino joined, in 1984 at the Toulouse Bluegrass Festival, which had great bands like Hot Rise and Tony Trishkin Skyline on the same year as us. The Newgrass Revival, of course. And 1984 marked the first year that we started touring Europe, actually. We went back to Toulouse in 85 and attached the short France tour to the Toulouse Festival. And those were great years for bluegrass in Europe. We found ourselves playing pretty much everywhere, in Austria, Switzerland, Germany, France again, and Italy. Even Italy.
imagine that.
And boy, you should realize that Italy has never been such great a place for live music. But the 80s were kind of magical. And so we sort of became not legendary, but well known throughout Europe. And that was a good start in a matter of really 4 years.
Great.
Which was pretty amazing, considering that we had no access to the resources that a young band has these days, of course.
Yeah.
We only had, Martino had Jack Tuttle's mandolin manual, and I had Pete Seeger's banjo book. And that was it. a few records, and of course, nothing on TV, radio, or the internet because it simply did not exist. So I think we did a good work. Good
Good.
job.
Yeah. Silvio,
And
There,
there's a little bit of an echo. I don't know if we can fix that or
yeah,
not. But
I'm
you go
trying.
into your sound and click echo cancellation, you know where your microphone is. You see that? Is it on? Down at the
Is
bottom
that
of your
better?
no.
No.
Uh,
Well, I have my. Well, I could use earphones actually. Why not?
why not?
It's awkward, but
Yeah. Sometimes
well,
technical
we
things.
we should mention that in the early '80s in Italy, there was a very active bluegrass and old-time association who put on a convention festival, if you like to call it that way, and with some very prominent American artists, like a Newgrass Revival came and played, the Bluegrass Cardinals, Mike Marshall, Daryl Anger,
Oh yeah.
Mike Seeger. So it was a very, I can say, exciting time for us because that was the first time we could hear live some American band performing bluegrass in Italy. And so many young bands started after these festivals. And unfortunately, in mid 80s, 85, 86, it all came somehow, it all kind of disappeared slowly.
yep.
So the 90s were much more or less appealing and interesting for young people in approaching this kind of music.
Hmm.
Only lately, I would say, in these past maybe 8-10 years, we have seen some new bands performing, new guys approaching the style and the music, and coming up with very good talented musicians showed up. And I would like to mention, of course, our Marco Ferretti, who's a fantastic guitar player and banjo player and dobro player and mandolin player, and I'm sure he can play bass. Not about the fiddle,
Yeah,
but
he can.
pretty sure he could put a hand on a fiddle also. And in his own generations, there are a few young musicians that are really keeping the torch alive and carrying the torch of bluegrass in Italy now. And so we're kind of proud to be like I wouldn't say the fathers, maybe the grandfathers of these people.
Yeah. So tell us about where you live in Italy and the surroundings, and a little bit about some of the food in Italy.
Well, the whole band is based on the town of Genova. Genoa for y'all, uh,
That's hilarious.
which is famous for the salami, but there's still an echo, isn't it?
Well, the pesto for
Yeah,
pesto.
but Genoa salami is a well-known entity in the U.S. But actually, the part that is, I mean, the part of the surroundings of Genova, which is famous for the salami, is the small village where Martina was born,
That's
Sant'Olcese.
right.
That's the
Yeah,
place,
that's right.
the birthplace of Genoa salami. And actually, Genova is a beautiful town on the sea with a harbor. The old town, the old part of town is where I live, and Martina lives close by, uh, full of art and great things to see. And the food is not what you might expect from the salami, because this part of Italy is sandwiched between the mountains and the sea, and you cannot raise pigs or cattle there. So our food historically, it's not based on meat. It's based on vegetables and fish, of course,
Ah,
which makes for very interesting combinations. I love the Ligurian food actually, and I'm
Yeah,
still
one.
having an echo in my
are you
phone here.
sure? Let's try something. Where you have your mute button down at the bottom of your screen, there's a little arrow. If you click on that arrow, it'll pull up a little menu. Is there a button
Yeah.
called echo cancellation in there?
No.
Ah, let me put it on mine.
It's troubleshooting. No.
It'd be where you hit your mute button. Or if your speakers are on outside as well.
My speakers are
Yeah,
off.
you have to click to the right side of the icon of the microphone. There's a
Yeah.
little arrow, and it opens a window where it say echo
Okay, I got it.
extermination.
Extermination, yes.
Yeah.
It's gone, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
There we go. Awesome. Thanks, Martino.
Yeah. Ah,
Thank you. Thank you, Marty.
you're welcome.
We were
You
talking
mentioned
about
something-
food.
You mentioned something about how we pronounce your city a y'all. I had the pleasure of going to Italy in 1975, and I was right near the Fountain di Trevi, and I had been taking Italian for 2 months straight, and I hadn't met any other Americans other than those that were at the college. And this lady came up, and right next, she goes, "Y'all, look at that lovely fountain." You know, it was all Italian, and I had this lady from Georgia with this big Southern drawl. It reminded me of that one. Y'all. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
The first
Funny.
time we played Texas, a festival just, I think it was northwest of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I was checking the men's room, of course, one of those big makeshift toilets that have the ladies on one side and the men on the other side, and I heard two ladies talking. Have you heard that band called Red Wine? I wonder what that means in Italian.
That's hilarious.
Well,
Well, we're being introduced as a vino rosso, which is the Italian for red wine,
Yeah.
yeah.
in several occasions, especially when we played for kids in schools, because they didn't want to associate music with alcohol at all. So the name was announced like Vino Rosso from Italy.
That's funny.
Go figure.
Well, tell me.
Well, actually,
Go ahead.
yeah, sorry, I was just to complete what Silvio was saying about our food tradition.
Yeah.
Liguria is not famous for red wine, but it's mostly famous for white wine. We have some different kinds of good white wine, and one of the most famous is a sort of dessert wine, like a meditation wine that comes from Cinque Terre, which is one of the most beautiful and touristic area on the southeast coast of Liguria from Genova, and the wine is called a Chaquetra, and it's a really interesting kind of sweet, as I told you, meditation wine. It's probably the most famous wine from Liguria, but we didn't get the name from that. We just thought red wine, which is another story that Silvio might want to share with your audience about how the name came out.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of funny stories linked to our name. I'm talking about 1978 when we were trying to get a name for our new band, and we were brainstorming about that, and everybody was saying stupid things and funny names that didn't mean anything. And at the time, we also had a violin player slash fiddle, whatever it was that he was playing. And he was a really nice guy, very generous. And he had brought a friend along who was, at the time, he was a teenager who already had a heavy drinking problem. So this guy was not interested in our conversation, and he was he was searching my house for any kind of alcohol he could find and getting rid of it for us, drinking it all. And he couldn't find much. So at certain point, he got fed up of hearing us discuss names and said, "Ah, come on, shut up. Call your band Red Wine. Everybody would know what it means anywhere in the world." So the name stuck.
That's great.
And the other kind of funny story is one that I think that happened at the Mohican Bluegrass Festival that we played for a couple of years in a row. The second year we had this couple, which I thought were very old at the time. They must have been about my age now, but
Or
anyway,
younger.
they were or younger, but they were too young, too old, husband and wife, and they were following us, sort of following us from festival to festival. At least we had seen them at a couple of previous festivals we had played. And they were always, at the time we had a t-shirt with Red Wine, of course, written on front. And the lady was checking the t-shirt every time she could. And eventually she came to me and said, "You know, I really like your t-shirt. It's really, really cool. But you know, we're newborn Christians," or whatever it is that she said, born again Christians, whatever, "and we can't approve of alcohol. So I don't see myself wearing a t-shirt that says Red Wine." And I thought for a second. I said, do you remember what Jesus did in Canaan? He turned the water into wine. So she goes, "Okay, give me 2 extra larges."
That's great. Awesome. Silvio, I understand
Yes.
you're retired. Tell us a little bit more about your career before your retirement.
Yeah, I retired 5 years ago, almost to the day. I was a surgeon for 40 years in a pediatric hospital. I did general pediatric surgery and urology and a lot of ER work. And it was a great job, a great way to put food on my table, although I use my profession to say a really terrible thing from the stage every once in a while. When Martine introduced me as Dr. Silvio Ferretti, I said, "Doctor, because that's what I do. That's my job. I cut up little children to put meat on my table." I stopped doing that.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah, not a good idea. I mean, it was funny.
He
But
became vegetarian.
no, I was forced to.
Martino, you're not retired. What do you do?
I'm not. I'm still practicing law as an attorney in Genova.
Oh,
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Unfortunately, come on.
that's good. Silvio, I'm sure our audience and our fans are curious about what you do when you're not working or performing and rehearsing. And I understand you are a craftsman and make a particular product for banjos and maybe making banjos. And I know Daniel Tepper, the co-founder of the festival. Yeah, he showed me one of those. I think he got one.
Yeah,
So tell us about that.
the critter. Well, long story short, for a while, I couldn't get any of my favorite bridges, which were the ones that Snuffy Smith made and Dave Wadsworth used to make. I don't know why I couldn't get them. So I had just started going to this luthier shop to learn a little bit of the trade, like setup, uh, not much in the way of building actually, but I thought it that building bridges could have been a good way to get into the trade, which is exactly what Marty Lanham, the famous Nashville luthier, told me. Yeah, building banjo bridges is a great way to starve. And that was what clicked in my mind.
Yeah.
And I started experimenting with building bridges. I had a lot of help from the. I'm still having an echo. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I checked everything,
It is
but it's
what it
okay.
is.
I got a lot of help from the boss of the luthier shop because he built bridges for bowed instruments. He was specialized in viola da gambas, so he knew the. Whoa, what was that? He knew a lot about how to cut the wood and to about thicknesses, about everything regarding regarding those bridges. But all that knowledge transfers uh, into banjo bridges immediately. I mean, it's knowing wood, it's knowing the way wood behaves, and it's knowing what's wrong and what is right in building any kind of bridges. And then I started building conversion necks for four-string banjos being converted to five-string, and then I started putting my own line of banjos together. Uh, I've also started. I also started building guitars, but that's a little bit in the past right now.
Okay.
Banjos took power.
As you guys travel around the globe, I'm assuming that you may experience some out of the ordinary, interesting times. Are there one or two that come to mind that you can share with us?
Oh,
You go, buddy.
well, I could tell the one time that they wanted to arrested me in the States.
Go ahead.
I, well, we were touring and we were in the West, going from the Strawberry Festival in California to another.
I'm
festival
losing the
up to
connection
this-
with you two.
Are you
Yeah,
still
let's
there?
go on.
Okay.
I'm there, but you're not. For me,
Can you
and
hear
David
me?
is not.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me? Can you
I
hear
only
us?
hear Martino. I don't hear
Give me a
David,
second.
and
I'm going to pull you off and put you back on.
Okay.
yeah, but I'm front stage now. Okay, you both are back.
Okay, I'll move you over.
We're back?
There you go.
Yeah. I've shifted from the left to the right. Amazing how politics work.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's normal.
Anyway, Martino, you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were driving from this festival in California, the Strawberry Festival music, which is up close to Yosemite Park, and had to drive the whole day to play another festival on the Sierra, and we didn't realize how far was the place. So we took it kind of easy and went to visit a little bit of Yosemite Park. And when we realized how late we were, I was driving, and we were up in a mountain road with nothing around, and I was driving a little faster than speed limit. let's say about 30, 35 miles over speed limit.
A little faster.
And
Just a
faster.
little, yeah.
And at some point, a four-wheeler came behind us with the lights on. And I asked you, Silvio, what is this four-wheeler wants from us with the lights
I
on
said,
the roof?
pull up, pull up.
And
It's black and white.
and I pull up right in front of the road sign with speed limit 55 while I was driving probably 80 miles. And this officer came out to the passenger's window, and we rolled down the window and said, I started saying, excuse me, sir, we are from Italy. We are on vacation. We didn't realize the road was totally empty. There was not a single car in the range of maybe 20 miles.
A terrible flood, the locusts.
So we didn't realize it was so fast. And he said, well, tell me, what would happen if I would drive 30 miles over speed limit in your country? And I said, well, probably nothing.
Yeah.
So he had his cowboy hat, Ray-Ban, sunglasses, his khaki shirt. He put his hands on his wrist, on his ankle, and start saying, now let me tell you something about this country. And from there on, he basically explained that that was a free roaming area. So cows were allowed to cross the street, the road in any point at any moment. And so he said, I'm sorry, but I have to take you to jail. And it was a Saturday, so nobody was in the court until Monday. So instead of playing a festival, I would picture myself spending the weekend in jail. And for 15 minutes, there was some of the worst 15 minutes of my life, I have to say. And luckily, after 10, 15 minutes, another officer came, and he was way more kind and understanding. So he let us go with a fine ticket, which was, pretty high. But we saved the weekend. We were able to play, even if we became late at the festival, so they had to rearrange the schedule, but we did it. Awesome. Don't worry, it won't happen. It won't happen in North Cascades. We'll be on time. No. We'll be on time without speeding up.
Yeah, that's great. So let's see here. I understand that you guys have a pretty close relationship with the Kruger brothers, and Jen's produced your album Carolina Red. I bet that was an amazing experience, just to have the short time I've got to know them in the interview time. Can you share with us a few nuggets of wisdom you learned during that experience?
Wow. First, let me tell you, we love them. We love them because they are not only, of course, the amazing musicians that we all know, but they are the most amazing, sweet, wonderful human beings that you might meet in your life. There would be so many stories, but I like to share this little, very short story about our schedule. When we were recording, we were going into the studio every morning, like around 10. And we entered the studio, this beautiful old barn that they restored and converted into a huge studio with huge windows facing a beautiful forest in North Carolina, in Wilkesboro, actually. And as we walked every morning, as we walked into the studio, there was Jens sitting on the couch in the recording room, playing the banjo. And we stood for at least 5 to 10 minutes in total silence, just listening to Jens noodling and playing, creating melodies on the banjo. And it was just magical because he was putting us in the mood of playing music in such a gentle and beautiful way that there was some of the most magic moments we spent with them. To me, there are of course many others, but
Yeah, but I'd like to share a couple of musical nuggets of wisdom. One is banjo related, and I was trying to get a strong kickoff to a song that we were recording entitled Henry Hill, and I was putting way too many notes on it. So Jens told me to listen to. I mean, he told me to recall the memory of a couple of kickoffs to My Walking Shoes Don't Fit Me Anymore. One being the original recording with J.D. Crowe on it, and the other one I'm not mentioning it because it was from another famous banjo player. But I mean, Crowe's kickoff was 4 notes, every one of them a bullet. And the other kickoff was 16 notes instead of 4, each of them taking power off from the 4 fundamental notes. And that was one of those less is more moments, which in the case of a kickoff make a kickoff epic or nondescript. And the other thing was not related to the banjo. It was something that Jens told Marco. Marco was trying to play a break on, I can't remember what song that we did. It was a pretty long guitar break. And Jens said, you've got a great beginning of the solo and you've got a great ending of the solo. What's played in the middle should not be a series of notes that don't go anywhere. The notes in the middle should lead from point A to point B with coherence. I mean, it's got to be a musical path from the beginning to the end of the solo, which is something that not many people say. You usually hear what matters in a break is the beginning and what you leave the audience at the end, and it's not actually true. Every note matters.
Yeah.
Like Earl Scruggs said, make every note count.
Yeah, that's
especially with the
absolutely.
IBMA hot shots, 15-year-old hot shots that blow your mind at first listening, and maybe you don't want to go to the second listening because they're just trying to blow your mind, not make music.
Yeah. Well, you
just saying.
Yeah, one more thing that Jens told us, and it's sort of one of his main point when he composes, is that you have to visualize the music. You have to put a soundtrack to some pictures or some movie that you already have in mind, or you are just imagining. So, and that's a great concept, because if you listen to their music, immediately, if you close your eyes, you see pictures, you see images. At least that's what happens to me. And that's his starting point, is I have to write music that would be the soundtrack for some movie or pictures that we all can share and have in common, even if we don't know about it.
So that's wonderful. I'm so excited for both you guys to be at our festival, Kruger Brothers and Red Wine. I'm beyond excited, actually. I tell everybody about it. So Martino, I often like to reference our jam at IBMA, as it was one of the best jams I've ever had to play as a budding bassist. And I mean budding,
Right.
And what stood out to me the most was you and Eric, I don't know if it's pronounced correctly or not, but Eaglestrom playing these incredible improvisational licks in harmony. I was going, wow, this Martino that I can play that Eric kicked in, or you kicked in, one of the two, and you're doing lick for lick in harmony with improvisation. I was going, oh my God, it just blew my mind. And not only that, but while you were doing that, you were shouting out chords in advance in time for me enough to play the chords on the bass. It was awesome. I don't know how you did it, but thank you. And it's a really
Are you sure it was me?
memory for me. It really is. So, did you ever get a chance to play with Eric at all, or when you're travels, do you get to see him at all?
Well, actually, Eric came to visit me in June, last June.
Oh, cool.
He spent like 4 days here in our country house, along with another good friend of ours, who probably was at that jam, Frank Sullivan. I'm not sure if he was at that jam. Anyway, he's a good old friend and buddy musician. So they happened to be at our place for 4 days, and we jammed and played like crazy for all the time possible that we had. And like you mentioned, Eric could play anything.
Yeah,
He's a monster mandolin player. He's a great musician and a wonderful person, of course. So so I think we met again before this June. We met again. Well, last year he came also with his family to Genova to visit. Not much playing, but we hang around for a couple of days, and then we met at the IBMA like 4 or 5 years ago in Raleigh. He came with banjo buddy Jan Scotch from the G2 band that they were playing in. And it's always a pleasure to meet the musicians. Like you mentioned, when you find a jam like that, when everybody is supporting and playing and having fun, it's just magic.
Yeah, it was
like
epic that. For me. I mean, it was like, wow, I just happened to be at the right time. And what's really interesting, there was a woman that wanted to play bass in the room I was in, and there was a couple of players that were also budding, and she goes, if you get tired, and then I heard you guys playing and there was no bass line going on, so I said, here, go ahead, because she really wanted to play, and I got out in the hallway, and then it was 2 hours of bliss. It was just awesome.
Yeah. Well, unforgettable. Absolutely.
I know you guys have some other scheduled things. I'm going to pop into our rapid fire real quick because I know you need to go. So,
can I answer one? Sorry, Dave, can I answer one question that we skipped about the Bluegrass Party?
Oh yes, please. Yes. You're going to tell us about.
Because I know you.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's something that we discussed very shortly. The Bluegrass Party is something that we started in 2009. And it became a regular event every year in Genova in a nice venue, nice theater, and it's still going. Okay. And this year it's gonna be on October the 26th and 27th in Genova. So whoever is on vacation, coming across Italy, might take a little detour and come to Genova in those days. And we had great artists playing in the past. The Kruger played one year. We had Peter Rowan, Doyle Lawson, and Quicksilver, Tim O'Brien, Laurie Lewis, and Tom Rosen, and a bunch of Italian great musicians, friends of ours. So every year we put a name and give a theme to the party. And this year it's gonna be something like a rusty old American dream. It's something that we have been following for these 45 years since Silvio started the band, and it's coming to a good point for us. So we want to celebrate this.
That's great. Yeah, you can talk about that at our festival too, Martino, so you can get more folks.
Absolutely.
Right.
Maybe we get some people taking vacation to Genova. All right. So thank you, and let's get going with the rapid fire. So the first question is, what are your favorite hot and cold drinks?
Me first?
Sure.
Okay. Hot is coffee. Cold is water.
Coffee and beer.
Coffee and beer. Who's the most famous person you've ever met?
My brother. No.
Most famous.
Bill Monroe
Most. Steve
and
Martin.
J.D. Crowe, of
Steve
course.
Martin.
Steve Martin, he's famous.
Cool. If cost was not an issue and you could visit anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Oh,
I know we have to accept out the North Cascades Bluegrass Festival, so you can't say that.
oh, yeah, because that's exactly what I was going to mention.
There it was.
You don't believe that. I don't know. It's not a matter of cost. It's a matter of time, how much time you have. I would like to see something of some parts of Italy that I haven't seen yet, like Calabria or Matera, which is a beautiful place, but I've never seen it. Cost is not an issue, so it's
Okay.
an easy job.
Alaska for me.
Alaska.
Alaska, right?
I'd love to see Alaska. Yeah.
It's beautiful up there. So, what's your favorite food?
Anchovies.
Oh, pizza.
Pizza.
That's easy.
Yeah. So, just fair warning. There's going to be some pizza at a certain particular time at our festival, and I just want you to not to hold.
Oh, fantastic.
You see?
Fantastic.
You read your
Italian
mind.
So, if money was not an object and you could buy any banjo, Sylvia, or Martino mandolin, what would it be?
Banjo. I would like to have Tom McKinney's banjo, which is called Boss Hog. Tom McKinney was my banjo guru, always has been. He was an incredible player. He was not Mr. Congeniality, but I loved him to death. And I would love to have his banjo, but I think it's going to stay within the family, so it's just a dream.
Martino?
Crusher. David Grisman's mandolin.
Good choice.
That's probably what I would buy if I had the money. Or John Rachman's also.
Okay.
One of the two.
Cool.
I would be satisfied.
You know, David lives really close to us in, I think, Port Townsend.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We'll probably will see them
Oh, that's
because
awesome.
we will stop in Port Townsend for the first day.
Yeah. Okay, if you cook, what's your favorite thing to cook?
Farinata.
What is that for those who don't understand
Do
that?
you know what farinata is? It's a soft, thin sort of cake that is made of chickpeas flour, water, and salt, and oil, olive oil.
And olive oil.
And put in the wood oven for 15 minutes. It's sort of like a thin, almost like a pancake, but it has nothing to do with pancakes.
Thinner crust.
And it's really typical of Genova also, and
Okay.
I like to cook it.
And for me, it's risotto.
Oh,
Definitely. I love it.
I love risotto as well. All right, the question you all been waiting for: what's your favorite car?
Mine, as long as it runs.
Volvo.
Volvo.
Well, I've had several Volvo in my career and never been disappointed. So I would say that it's a good car.
And Silvio's easy to please. What's your favorite key to sing in?
Anything that doesn't stretch my voice to the limit. So it's not a matter of key, it's a matter of
Range.
highest note.
Yeah.
And range.
Yeah.
Even lowest note. Yeah.
Yeah, the same. It depends on the melody, how the melody goes. But let's say usually A or G might be the most suitable keys for me.
Okay. Do you guys dream? And if so, do your dreams ever come true?
Don't dream
Rusty old
much.
American dream.
Rusty old American dream. Yeah, we were actually every time we go to play great festivals like Northern Cascades and everything. That is a dream come true. That we get a chance to repeat and dream again and live again. We were really sad when COVID struck because we knew what was going to happen, and we were actually coming back home from having played Joe Val first and then Winter Dress. And when we got home, we had the first signs of something big going on, like people with all sorts of masks checking your temperature and everything. And we understood that life was not going to be the same. And it actually happened because this tour is the first one that we are going to do after COVID. So the more so, it's another dream come true.
That's
It's a
awesome.
post-COVID dream come true.
So I want to be respectful of your time, and so I'm going to ask the last question. Before we close, if you had only one message to provide to your fan base and all of those listening, what would that message be?
Good question.
Thank you.
Well, the question I always put myself in is, did you have a good time listening to our music? Because we are here for that, and we would like to hear the feedback from the people. And the greatest, to me, the best feedback I can get is usually we spent 2 hours without realizing time passed by so fast. And it was like being put from your daily routine life into a different dimension for, for the time the show went on. So I would send a message, and please come to us with a feedback about how the music, how did you experience our music, what the music has made for you in this 1 hour and a half or 2 hours. Because then I know if we did our job properly and well.
And actually, my answer to the same question would be sort of an attachment to what Martina just said, because as I think you remember what I said about the present configuration of the band when we talked about this interview last week or whatever it was. In my opinion, and I've been there since day one, so I'm the only one entitled to say that. In my opinion, this configuration of the band is the best ever that Red Wine has had. So my promise to our fan base is to try and keep this configuration running for as many years as possible, because I mean we've changed radically since Marco first and then Lucas came into the band. They have added so much music, so much alternate visions, different sounds, everything. They have almost worked a miracle, at least on old myself. So my promise to the fan base is to have this configuration of the band running for as much time as possibly can.
Awesome.
As my hands will allow me to do.
Well, before we go, I just want to say and give you a sincere thank you for coming to our festival. That's on behalf of me and Daniel, and also the fans. There's a lot of fans that you entertained the last time you were here, and they're looking forward to seeing you again. So thank you. I know you're busy. I thank you for the time today you spent in answering these questions. and we will see you in less than a week. So
less than a week. Less than a week. David, thank you so much for having us on this interview. And we're really excited. Can't wait to see you and Daniel and all our friends at North Cascades and playing for you.
All right. Have a great day. What's left, or actually, it's an evening for you guys. So have fun at your dinner, Martino. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.